Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Spooky Japan Podcast. Hoping everyone is doing well today. Today, we have a very special guest, Kent. He is the host of Paranormal Addict. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're doing pretty good. It's raining here in Japan. There might be a typhoon hitting later. And Irene can tell you we might be hitting her too later. Right, Irene?
Yep. You can't do anything about it.
It's something we're actually used to. It's what people say, like if you're in America in the South, if it's a tornado warning, where you're just on the porch watching for it.
Yeah, we had a really big tornado in where I live in Mayfield 2 years ago, and that's what I did. I actually watched it go by my house, but it was actually a level 4 tornado, so it did a lot of damage. So
you notice how it hits and misses places and houses, and it's just like it was only this far away from your people's houses, and other houses get obliterated, right?
yeah, it like jumped some house. Like I said, there was a lot of damage here in this tornado. It destroyed the city hall, the courthouse, the jail. But like as far as like my family, my oldest son's house got destroyed, and my wife's uncle's house got destroyed. But everybody made it okay, so that's the main thing. So
yeah, houses can be rebuilt, people can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how we're just like all used to it by now. Irene is also so used to earthquakes by now.
Mm-hmm. Like I'm going, oh, here we go again. Jeez, I'm just gonna stay in bed, okay? I don't want to get up. So yeah, half of us just goes back to bed again because like let me sleep. Like they always happen in the middle of the night. You really won't need your beauty rest, but you can't. It's still like okay. But Earth rumbles and growls and does all kinds of crazy stuff. It's life.
You are also the founder and lead investigator of KenTenn Paranormal.
Yes. I've actually been investigating for 30 years. I started back in 1993. So KenTenn, we've been together for 3 years. I had to take about 2.5 years off because I had brain surgery, and then when I got back into it, KenTenn is the team I put together now, and I have to say it's actually the best team I've been involved in. So we're basically a family. So and we stay active. Yeah, we stay active. We do at least 2 investigations a month, if not 3. I like to keep it at 2. That way, if we have a residential that we need to go to, we have an opening for the residential, because that's really what I like to do more than anything, is go in and help a family. So
it is actually really rare to be able to put together a good team, more than people actually know. I know a lot of people assume, oh, it's so easy to find people in paranormal. But compatibility-wise, it's not actually easy. I've tried to form a couple of different groups, but some of them just didn't ever pan out. And it's just because especially nowadays, a lot of people have a really bad expectation of paranormal, like paranormal investigating. Like basically, a lot of them say they're into it, but what they really mean is I'm into what I see on TV. And then once they start doing it, they realize it is completely different than how it is in real life. Like, I wish it was that way. I wish it was that active. I wish you got that great of evidence, but it's a sit around and wait, and you may or may not get some good evidence. You may get some okay evidence. You might just have a bad night. It doesn't even matter the location or how popular the location is either.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we've had a few people that's joined because and the reason they joined, they actually put it on the little application we have. They put it because the para-pop culture is what I call it. Like you said, the TV shows and all that stuff. And it's not like that. I tell people it's basically like fishing. You might sit there for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours and not get anything. But then when you get something, it's like a yay moment. But the spirits are not trained monkeys. You may or may not get something.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. Is sometimes, I mean, they were once human, so sometimes they're just not in a mood to do anything or say anything. They're just like, okay, I'm just not into this. Other times you might go into the same place and it's more active. You just never know.
Right. And I mean, really we're kind of invading their space. So, like you said, if we go in there, they may not want to talk to us. That's the reason when we go into a place, we go in talking to them, we introduce ourselves, let them know that we're not there to mean them any harm. We're not trying to make them leave or anything. We're just there to talk to them, hear their story, that, we want to be their friends, that we appreciate them talking to us. We don't rush in and, taking pictures, setting up equipment, we try to explain it to the spirits, especially if it's like an older house, because, if it's a spirit from like the 1800s, early 1900s, they have no idea what a REM pod is or a novelist or any of that stuff, so.
Yeah.
What I'm worried about now with the paranormal investigation is with this younger generation is with the TikTok trends of people pretending to be cats or pretending to be the alpha wolf, and you hear their spirit where they're meowing at you or they're even doing the wolf howl, and everyone's going to assume it's a demon because you hear the growl and it's just
Everything's a demon.
Yeah,
everything's a demon because it gives you somebody hits the like button. That's why everything's a demon. But I mean, and I'm not going to lie and say there's not demonic hauntings. I think there is demonic hauntings, but it's less. It's less than 1% of the total hauntings. And I'm actually a trained demonologist, and I went through the training and all that stuff. So I understand they're out there, but I would also understand that's the minority of the hauntings. It's not like you see on TikTok or YouTube where you go into all these places and it's a demon. No, it's not. And what people also have to understand, it can be an evil spirit without being a demon. If the guy was if the being was a dickhead in life, he's going to be a dickhead as a spirit.
However you were in life is how you're going to be in death. That's why I'm like, man, the current TikTok kids, that's going to worry me when they're spirits.
Most definitely.
Especially the ones that identify as a cat or identify as alpha wolf. And I think majority of people have probably seen the videos of that going around.
Yeah, I saw a little cartoon that I thought was cute. It showed like two ghosts talking to each other, and the one ghost said, "Stop running around and telling everybody you're a demon," and the other ghost said, "But that's how I get on TV." So yeah, I mean, I had a friend of mine that I respect. He explained that he guessed those YouTube people, they fill a spot in the paranormal world, but they're not really investigators. They're just YouTubers. They just want somebody to like them. So the people that tune in to watch them, they're not really looking to find what a real investigation is like. They just want somebody screaming around it's a demon and stuff. And then you have the people who want to see what it's really like. And so Jay said they serve a purpose. I'm not going to really say I don't really know if I can agree they serve a purpose, but I mean, they're there, so we have to deal with them, I guess. I mean, realistically, what they've done to me is they've made it harder on me, because when I go to locations, sometimes now I got to sign a piece of paper saying I'm not going to say anything negative and I'm not going to provoke and all this stuff. So that's what they did to me.
Yeah.
That's why I tell people there is real paranormal investigators, and there's a TikTok, what I call the TikTok investigators,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what I mean. Unfortunately, they do make it harder for the actual paranormal investigators because they're going out there faking evidence for the views.
Yeah.
Not actually really investigating, which sucks. Because now, anytime you put anything out there that's real, that you caught real, everyone's like, "Oh, you faked it."
Yep, and we don't fake. I try to debunk as much as I can before I even present it, and then I think we actually got like 3 different levels of paranormal investigators anymore. We got the legitimate ones, and then we got the pop culture, which those are the ones that's on TV, and then you got the YouTubers. They're like the cockroaches of the paranormal field, but yeah. I mean, this is my passion. I actually feel like it's the gift. It's my way of. It's the gift God gave me. So I use it to help people. So
yeah.
So I don't like the people who just goes around making us look like comic strips and stuff. To me, I approach everything from like the scientific standpoint. That's how I investigate. I'm actually a clairvoyant, so I can actually communicate with them and feel them and stuff. But when I investigate, I do it from a scientific standpoint because, like I explained to my team, it's a lot easier for me to go to the homeowner and stuff and be like, "This is what I captured. This is what I can show you," than it is to say, "This is I feel this is what's going on." If I have that EVP or I have that SLS or I have that thermal image, that's just a home run to me to be able to show the homeowner.
Yeah, going to what Howard was saying, these first-time investigators can go out and make things worse if they don't know what they're doing.
Exactly.
That's totally true. I mean, how many times, especially because Irene is also clairvoyant, how many times have you cleansed the house because someone made it worse? Because a lot of them go in there and they're provoking the spirit, or they think they have to bring in the Ouija board or do a seance, and you're opening more portals.
Yeah.
And you are making it worse. There is a lot of times with that because there's been I've talked to owners of location who says they walked in on people doing seances and they're just like, no, don't do that here because you're now inviting more spirits into this place that are probably not going to be good.
And you have to clean up their mess and fix the mess that's going on in there. So like you got double work, right? And I just wanted to say hi to Howard and thank you for coming on the chat. But yeah, I mean that's true. We have a tough enough job as it is, trying to help these spirits to coexist with humans. Or if we have to let them go over the rainbow bridge. It's just like, don't do this. If you can't do it, don't touch it. Just leave it to somebody else who can do it and who can help them. That's all we're saying here, and there's a lot of truth to that too.
Yeah, the problem with like seances and Ouija boards, all that stuff. If you don't know what you're doing, you need to stay away from that stuff because you make things worse. So you open up a portal that you don't close, so it makes things worse. We actually did a residential last year that the house was already having activity, but come to find out, they had a foster daughter that was living there that decided she was going to start messing with the Ouija board and all that stuff. And she opened it up. Yeah, exactly. She opened it up and made it worse. I mean, we were able to come in and clean it up for we was able to get this. It ended up being a teenage boy that drowned back in 1888, and we were able to communicate with him and get him to cross over, close the portal. But yeah, it wouldn't have been so bad if it wasn't for that girl messing with the Ouija board, messing with stuff she didn't understand.
Oy vey is all I can say to that one, right? Oh my gosh! Like
I've had to
really?
go to a friend's house to clear it up before, just because she had another team of investigators in, and she told me they're like, whatever they did made it work. It didn't solve anything. They
Mm,
just made it worse.
hmm
And I'm like, they're probably in there trying to communicate with it, thinking they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Open more portals, and yeah, now it's worse. Now whatever is in your house. Yeah, she said whatever was in my house was, not only did it add to it, but it pissed it off even more.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went to one like that about 2 months ago. It was a very interesting case to start out with. It was an 11-year-old girl, and apparently she died in childbirth, and and she had these spirits that attached to her whole life. I mean, and some of them were good, some of them were evil, but she had two. They kept telling her that they were demons and that she was going to die. And and another team went in about a year before we did, and that's what they did. They just pissed it off. They didn't figure out what was going on. They didn't do anything. They pissed it off, and it took us like 8 hours of an intense investigation to finally figure out who we was talking to and what we needed to do. And it's kind of funny looking back. It wasn't funny at the time, but
No.
when we finally trapped the spirit to make it communicate with us, we was in a attic, like a crawl space attic, and I'm a big guy, and it was me and my one teammate, my one team lead. We were both up there in this attic, and the floor wasn't even nailed down. So if we moved, we might fall through the floor. So we just had to lay down in this attic and so to communicate with the spirit. And the only way, I mean, we have all the fancy new equipment, but the way this spirit wanted to communicate was the old flashlight way. It wanted to use the flashlight to communicate with us. So that's how we communicated with it.
Mm,
Sometimes they don't like doing that, especially, and Irene can tell you, especially being when you're clairvoyant, they really don't like doing it.
no.
Because Irene's done she's tried the whole cat ball thing, but unfortunately, since she can talk to them, they didn't want to do it because they're like, this doesn't make sense. Put them away. I can just talk to you. Why do I also have to press the ball at the same time?
Yeah. They told me to put it away, and I don't like that. Put it away. Like, we don't know what that is. We don't like it. So I said, okay, here I am putting the cat balls away in my bag. And my spouse was looking at me and goes, what are you doing?
But I can also see that with Irene investigating those places. Like I said, she can already talk to them as it is. And then all of a sudden you're adding a cat ball to it, and then they're older than the cat ball, so they're like, I don't even know what this is. What is this thing you put in front of me telling me to touch?
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah. I've actually had them tell me to leave the room. They're like, I don't want to talk to you. Leave the room. And I'm also that guy. Like if the spirit's going to touch somebody, scratch somebody, whatever, I'm that guy. It don't even have to be an evil spirit. We were investigating an abandoned hospital that we go to quite often, and we were actually live with another team, and the JB was actually live, and as she was talking, I got a big scratch across my face.
Ooh.
And what was interesting is the level of the hospital that we was at that time was the psychiatric ward, and there was a known violent spirit there that according to the newspaper and police reports, he committed suicide. But what really happened is he was a group of people tied him up and hung him up, and he was angry, and even though, like I said, the hospital's been abandoned since 1988, he's still there. So,
people are treated not like humans, especially in hospitals like that, right? So they only do what they did, like tie this person up. Like, okay, I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing because somebody told me to do that, but it's just a shame how people were treated, right? and you expect him to be not angry. You kidding? Of course he's gonna be angry. Of course he's gonna scratch you. Of course he's gonna get pissed off, right?
Yep.
You know.
Yep. Yeah. What do you expect? I mean, and on that same floor, I had my thermal camera, and it was only me, Dennis, and Denise on the floor. So I took a picture with my thermal camera and my camera, and of course I was taking the picture, so I was in there. In the camera, I got Denise, Dennis, and then there was a floor heat signature of somebody. Like you can see the head, the shoulders, and everything. And there was nobody. And like I said, I like the thermal because the thermal, you either show something or you don't. So we was getting a thermal energy. We was getting a thermal signature, and there was no electricity in this building. It's been completely abandoned since 1988. I mean, it's gutted. There's not even the breakers or anything in there. It's completely gutted. So there's absolutely nothing to put off a thermal signature, especially one that looks like a 6-foot man. So,
wow, that would have been cool to see.
I actually still have it. I'll send it over to you guys.
Okay. What do you think about people who use so much equipment that they, like, if they're trying to communicate, the cat ball goes out and say, "Oh, thank you very much for your free answer." Like, how do you know that the cat ball's going up because that spirit is saying whatever? Like, there's no evidence of that. You just can't rely on equipment, but saying, "Well, the spirit's talking back to us because the cat ball's going up." No, or the beeping's going off. Like, excuse me, but I don't use any equipment when I go anywhere, and except these 2 cat balls that I bought. But I don't know if I'm gonna use them anymore or not because I find it's kind of useless. But anyways, it's just like people are too reliant on their equipment, right? You got your. I always say, go low tech is usually pretty good too because you can get a lot more evidence going low tech. But if people want to know what you're saying, I mean, I'm sorry, I can't show you. I can't make the spirit come out and say, "Hi, it's me. I'm the dead person." Like,
Yeah.
You're like, like I'm saying, okay, you don't believe me, that's fine. That's up to you. But it's really difficult.
Well, the thing with equipment is, what everybody has to realize is, none of the equipment that we use or that we have available, it wasn't made for paranormal investigating. It was made for something else, and then somebody adapted it to paranormal investigating. So when I use equipment, if I'm using the spirit box, I like to have like my Paratech with, I like to have them both, and if they correspond with each other, then maybe I got something. Or if I get an EVP and it matches on the spirit box, maybe I got something. And so that's the way I look at it. I'm not going to, and even if I catch something, I'm going to go back and see if I can debunk it. And if if I can't debunk it, then I got something. And that's the whole thing. Like the SLS, the SLS is like one of the big things right now, and it's improved. I got the newer model, and it's better. But which people have to understand, especially if you got the older model, the older model was so sensitive that it had so many false positives. I saw the original one pick up like a pile of clothes as a something. I seen it pick up a coat rack or something. I seen it pick up like a fence post or something. Because when it picks up anything that it thinks is a human shape. So the new one's not as bad. They built in like a delay in it to actually see if it's something. And like if you're laying down, it won't even pick that up because it's not the shape. It's not a shape. So it's better. But like again, the SLS started out as a video game.
Yeah. I never wanted to invest in the SLS camera for that reason, as everyone was telling me it's so buggy that.
Well, the new one's a lot better. I have one and I use it. I don't use it as my main piece of equipment. I use it what I find is good for really is when you do like a walkthrough, you do your walkthrough with it, and if it hits something, that gives you an area where you may want to focus. I don't use it and say, "Hey, I got something." I use it and say, "I might need to take a closer look at that." And then, but I mean, it started out, the history of the SLS is, it started out as as an Xbox Connects, and the Xbox Connects sucked as a video game system. But as people were playing it, they noticed that it kept picking up people coming in the room when there was nobody coming in the room. So they was like, "Well, it's picking up something." So they're like, "Well, we're going to make it into a paranormal equipment." So I did get some really good SLS. I was at a location. It was a hotel, and what's odd is this hotel, there's only one room that's haunted, but in this one room, there's 4 verified deaths. The last person that was murdered there, all 4 of them were murdered. The last one that was murdered there, they never even found the body. It just disappeared. So the owners of this hotel, they've always got like scratches on their back. It's always played with like the video cameras. The lights would, your basic stuff, lights would go off and on. Well, the husband, he always wanted to get somebody to come and look at it. But the wife's like, "No, I don't want that negative paranormal." So, but now they're selling it. So they called us, and we got to be the first team to investigate it. It was a 5-hour drive for us, but we get there, and the first thing that we had interesting happen is we were using the cat bars, and something took one of the cat bars, just took one of them, and scooted it all the way down the chest of drawers. Just one of them.
What do you think is happening in that room? Do you think it's a residual energy, or do you think it's something really making these people die, or the bodies being not found?
Well, what I felt as a clairvoyant, and what we ended up being able to back up with history, was back in the late 1800s, the early 1900s in eastern Kentucky, when the coal miner families had too many children, they would sell them into slavery. And so we found out that the property where this hotel was built was where they used to sell the kids into slavery. So what we ended up figuring out is we had two sets of spirits. We had 2 kids, and then we had an adult that was trying to keep them safe, and then we had an evil entity, which was the one that was taking them into slavery. And so we had the interesting activity with the cat bars, so I moved them from the chest of drawers to the little dinette table, that they have in hotel rooms, and we asked it to move the cat bars, and we got an EVP, and we got it on the Paratech that said, "I can't move it." That's exactly how it said it is. "I can't move it." So we turned the SLS to the table, and it looked like sitting in the 2 chairs was 2 kids, and you could see their hands going towards the bars, like they were trying to push it. So too much. There's no such thing as coincidences. So there was too much to verify that. So then I felt like I was getting behind me. I felt like the evil spirit was trying to get my attention. So I said something to it, and apparently I made him mad. And so behind me was just a blank wall, just a blank wall in the hotel. And I turned around the SLS, and I got a big, like 6'7", 6'6", 6'8" figure on the wall, but only when I made the guy mad. So that's my positive experiences with SLS. Like I said, I've had a lot that I've debunked and dismissed. I've actually, with SLS, I probably debunked 85% of the SLS that my team has given to me. And because I'm not going to put my name on my team name on something that I can't, I'm not sure is something. So if I think it might be a coat rack, I'm going to say we're debunking that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah,
I agree with you there. It's just But when you have something like that in a room and the property, it's just like, yeah, it's like in a hotel with bills on top of it. You're like, oh my god, how worse can you get from that, right? How like it. I can't even fathom the words to even express how I feel about that, right?
Yeah, and I mean it was intense because it's just a little hotel room. I'm not talking about like a suite. I'm talking about just a little room with two beds. The dresser, the little table, and during the day when we was investigating, it seemed like we was only talking to the kids and the one that was trying to keep us safe. And then at night, about 2 o'clock in the morning, when we decided we decided to take a break, go eat, and come back and investigate. Do it all again at 2 o'clock. And at 2 o'clock, that's when the evil one seemed to be there, and the whole room got so intense. Because it's such a small room, and like I said, all the energy is pretty much trapped in that one room, not any of the other rooms. So it was intense being, like basically a 20 by 20 room with that much negativity in it.
Did you have to ever check your energy in here because of that? There, you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's
Yes.
just like here and here, and like here and like like
Yes. Yes.
like,
I mean, we
your
always try
head could
to.
be yeah,
Yeah.
your head could be elsewhere.
We always try to. We always we try to. I try to ground myself before I go into any investigation. I do a prayer of protection. I mean, and then and I say to myself, I always wear my. I got a stone, for protection. That's inside my little crystal skull pendant. I carry it with me, and because I understand, as you do too. Being a clairvoyant and stuff. If we have negative energy, that's going to make the location negative. So we don't want to bring that in. And then and I do my best not to let the spirit take my affect my energy either. I've never went to the point yet where I've let a spirit enter me. That's kind of where I draw the line. I'll communicate with it. I'll let it use my energy, but I'm not going to let it enter me. It's now going to go home with me. Before we leave, we do a prayer detachment. We let the spirits know that they need to go wherever they're supposed to be. If that location is where they're supposed to be, that's fine. If they're supposed to cross over, that's where they need to be. But they're not going home with me. They're not attaching to my equipment. They're not attaching to my vehicle. They're not attaching to my team. Because I understand my gift, and I understand it's a gift now. And as a kid, when I first realized I had it, I probably didn't consider it a gift then. But as I learned, I understand it's a gift now. But I'm not going to let a spirit negatively impact my gift. I'm not going to let them abuse me. So yeah.
Yeah, but people don't realize that even before you even step foot on that property, they know you're coming, right?
They know you're
Yes.
coming before you even leave your house.
Yeah, they know that you're there, and they know that you're coming, and they can smell you like a mile away. And the people, if you're getting into this, if you're a newbie, you gotta be careful, and pick and choose the right places that you can investigate, and that stay away from ones that you can't. That's too difficult to investigate. It's just like you're heading for a whole lot of trouble if you don't know what the heck you're doing. And
right, and if you go into a place, even somebody like us that know what we're doing, if you're in a place and you just feel like you should leave, that's you should leave. Something bad is going to happen if you stay. That's what people need to realize. They need, especially people like us that have the clairvoyance and have the gift. You have to trust that. You have the gift for a reason. So if it's telling you to leave, you need to leave.
Yep.
And go
Exactly.
to the thing about knowing that we're there. Yeah, they even know when we're coming.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I had a homeowner that the spirits in her home knew if she was talking to me. If she was talking to me, like sending me a message, it would mess with the message. Like it would turn off her phone. So yeah, they definitely know. They exist on a different plane than we do. So that's the reason we have to make sure if you don't leave, something's bad's going to happen. I mean, each place can't tell you exactly why because it depends on this location and what the spirits are.
Yeah, my friend was gonna take, like, we do things virtually sometimes. My friend said, "Oh, you want to come with me? I'm going to this retirement home tomorrow. You want to come?" I said, "Sure." And then I had an old lady who I don't know. She was a spirit. She said, "Don't forget to tell them to bring me some chocolates." And I told my friend, "Hey, this old lady from the spirit world says she wants you to bring her some chocolates." He goes, "What? How did she know that I'm taking you?" I said, "Because she knows, right?" We were talking on the telephone. And, and like they said, "How do they know?" Because they do know. They just know. Like, they know that you're taking me. So that's why she came to give me that information, to give you that information. She goes, "Okay, so I gotta buy some chocolates." I go, "Yep, you gotta buy some chocolates and bring it to the retirement home that's empty and there's nothing there anymore." But yeah, the spirits want chocolates. And
and people have to realize. I mean, like you said, like we both said, it can physically affect us. Me and my team, we went to the location I was telling you about with a little girl. We went there twice. The first time we went there, it was basically just a walkthrough to see if we was going to be able to help them and that stuff. And me and two of my team members were physically sick for a week afterwards. I actually had to stop a block away from the house at the gas station and vomit. And at that point, I decided to cleanse. I burnt my sage. I cleansed myself. But yeah, so the evil can affect us. I mean, especially being a clairvoyant, we're energy anyway. So the evil's going to invade us and bring the evil energy if we allow it and we don't protect ourselves. So if we stay when we know we're not supposed to, we're opening ourselves up to that. We're opening up our team up to that. We're opening up the homeowner up to it, and that's just too much responsibility.
Yeah, and people don't realize. Like, some investigators don't realize. I had to tell an investigator, "You have to cleanse your equipment too." He go, "You're kidding." I go, "No, yep." And I said, "If you have any clothes that you went on that investigation, throw it out." And they go, "Really?" I go, "Yeah."
Yep. Cleanse everything. Like I said, we always do the detachment prayer. But if it's a really active place and we had stuff, we actually cleanse everything right there. We go ahead and burn the sage and cleanse the equipment, cleanse ourselves, cleanse the vehicles. Make sure nothing is attached to us. That's actually the one thing my wife told me when I got back into the paranormal investigating. She's like, "I know you're going back to doing it because that's your passion." She's like, "I fully support it, but you can't bring home any spirits." So
that's I think that's the number one rule with all of us, that we don't want to bring home visitors that we don't want, right? And and I think that's the number one rule that should be said for all of us who investigate. Don't bring home visitors that you don't want, right? Because they could be a whole mess of trouble. Even if you find they're innocent, it could be a whole mess of trouble in your house, with your family, with your children, everything, your dogs, your cats. It doesn't matter, any living thing. Like,
especially children and pets, because they can see them when I think everybody's born with the ability to see and sense the spirits, but as we get older, I don't know if we lose it, but people stop seeing it because we're taught, "Oh, that's just in you, that's not real," and then like cats and dogs, they definitely can sense it, and you also have to watch, like, if you bring an object home from a location, you have to watch that. I just brought a brick. I went to a meet and greet, little Paracon, and they were having it at this the haunted location was this old stone jail, and they decided they was going to auction off one of the bricks from the building. And I actually got the brick, but I cleansed it and made sure that I asked permission to take it home. I did all the stuff to make sure that I wasn't bringing anything home with me, and that it was okay for me to take it. If it would have told me I couldn't take it, I would have put it back in the jail. So so yeah.
That's what I say for people who want to start out with haunted stuff. Make sure you really want to do this, because it's a whole lot of new responsibility with anything haunted, including dolls that have spirits in them. Like, you gotta treat it with respect. You gotta really know what the heck you're doing, because it's just something that it's just not for everybody.
Well, I like to every year in September, during National Ghost Hunting Week, I like to do a paranormal investigating 101 little thing at the library. And one thing that I always include in my talk to parents, I'm like, if your kid comes up to you and tells you that they have an imaginary friend, it really might not be an imaginary. Exactly.
Yeah.
I had a friend I grew up with, and she was telling me, because they also had a younger sister when they moved into this house, that things that happened around the house, and they always thought it was the youngest, and she would claim it was what they thought was this imaginary friend. But they never took it seriously, because, adults never take the imaginary friend seriously. They're like, oh, you're clearly just saying this to blame it on someone else, to the point where she didn't like to talk about the imaginary friend anymore. But then, it was also at the times when you took pictures with your Polaroids.
Yeah.
Not the digital cameras nowadays. They would take pictures of them in the house, like random pictures of fun family photos. Then they started seeing in the photos the face of a girl that looked like exactly what their youngest daughter was describing.
Yeah. I first recognized my ability to see and communicate with them when I was about 6. Probably before then, but 6 is when I remember. And then what happened to make me decide that I was going to learn how to use my ability, and is when I was 16, I had I called her my aunt, but really she's my great aunt, but she was really close to us. Like whenever we went out to eat with my grandparents, she went with us. But she passed away, and when she passed away, she came to me that night, that morning. It was about 1:30 in the morning, and she told me that she had passed and that she was crossing over. So not to worry, but she wanted to stop by and let me know that everything's okay, and that I need to learn to communicate with the spirits. Yeah. And so at that point, during that, I was freaked out. I was probably as white as a ghost, as the saying says. But that was at that point. I just told myself, I was like, I'm not going to be afraid of this gift for the rest of my life. So I have to learn to use it. So that's when I decided to learn to use it. So.
Yeah.
I've known when people died before I was even told for that same reason.
Yeah.
Even my grandpa, I knew he died before I ever actually was told or found out, because he came to me that night after he passed.
Right. And where I'm located, I'm right in the middle of the Bible Belt here in the United States. So I get one. So when people see my KenTenn Paranormal shirt, I get one or two reactions. Thanks to ghost hunters and ghost adventures, all that. I get a lot of people that's like, oh, that's cool. Or then I get then the other half of the people are like, oh, you worship the devil. I'm like,
No, okay, God,
what?
yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah,
I'm
that's
like,
like,
He,
you're
I'm
right.
like,
Yeah,
I'm like, not this week, but I mean, if you want to, you can
yeah.
check back with me next week. But I was like, no, I don't worship the devil.
Well, let me check my skills here, okay? Okay.
uh,
Yeah, I'm glad you say that because being in Japan, we don't talk about what we do in public. We don't say nothing, and she doesn't say anything. I don't say anything either. No, I just can't tell anybody what I do. It's just
so
no.
she lives in Tokyo. I live in Nagasaki, so that's why sometimes you'll hear us refer to where she lives compared to area I live, just because she's more in the middle of the island. I'm on the very bottom. She's on the east coast. I'm on the west more.
She's near the Japan Sea. I'm near the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
That's where we're located, and it's just like Japan. You just don't talk about paranormal. Period. Um. I mean, if I tell who people that I don't, they'll say you need to go to the loony bin, or you're nuts, or you're crazy, or you're evil. Like, oops, like nope, I ain't that. I'm not neither nor. And that's why we talk to each other. Amanda and I talk to each other because we don't have anybody else to talk to, right?
Not in Japan, no.
No, it's just outside the country we can. Inside the country, well, forget it. Like, yeah.
It's one of the
yeah, I
it's a
mean,
taboo subject here. Like what's different over here in the different over here in Japan compared to the United States is in the United States, as long as you're not seen wearing your company logo that you work for or mention
Yeah.
where you work for on anything that you're doing paranormal with, HR really can't do anything about it. Here in Japan, if your company finds out you're out there doing paranormal, they can fire you.
Yeah.
More than
Or
likely will.
or even if you saw UFO, the company will come fire you, or they can make you take an early retirement.
That's
And
what happened to
yeah,
a
yeah,
pilot here in Japan. Is that
yeah.
Irene will tell you he was flying
The
over the what was it?
North
North
Pole
Pole.
to get to the United States because that's a quicker route than going all the way around the Pacific Ocean, right, to go to America. But he was flying up north to come down and to go to America, and he said, you know what? He saw a thing in the sky, and it was no airplane. He told the air traffic controllers, and when he came back to Japan, they said, "Come here, we have to talk." So yeah, and he apparently, well, it's like you're being from the company.
yeah,
Early retirement, yeah.
I probably wouldn't make it very long over there. Uh, I was actually supposed to go with one of my good friends. He
Mhm.
actually wrestled over there in Japan, and
Yeah,
I was actually going to escort him over there. I I played his bodyguard is what I played, but he was actually really big over there in Japan. So, but I was able to go because I ended up being that's when I ended up having my brain surgery. So but I was actually looking forward to because I've always heard how pretty it is over in Japan and stuff. So
Mhm.
well, I'm gonna tell you this part. Where I live, 90% of it's haunted. Okay, you have to actually have a clairvoyant when you want to go and rent an apartment or buy a house. You got to check the property because no real estate agent has any news, has any information on anything, and Amanda will say the same thing. Like,
So here you cannot go to like the library to pull information on a property. There's also no such thing as vital records for you to go and do the same thing. There's no records of buildings.
no. So I'm glad my son's a clairvoyant. He said, "Okay, this property is clean. Buy it." I said, "Okay, we bought it." But I mean, aside from that, you're on your own, right? It's like you're on your own, and good luck to that one. And it's almost really difficult to find something that's clean, that has a clean property. because you either will have samurai warriors walking through the walls in your primate, or you'll have something crazy come out and try to kill you. And like,
Mm.
yeah, and
That,
I think
that,
you
that,
wouldn't
that,
want to
might,
go
that might
places
ruin
like
the mood. Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
lived
I
in both
mean,
those places for 20
I know.
years.
I know. In Mexico, they're pretty much the same way on
Yep,
paranormal.
yep,
Unless in the Mexican culture, they got their own form of voodoo. So
yeah,
if you're practicing that, you know, but otherwise, if you're just a normal Mexican,
yep,
they don't really talk about paranormal, which is kind of odd because you think about the all the festivals they have, the Day of the Dead, all that stuff. You would think
yeah,
they would embrace the paranormal, but yeah, and I mean in America, even though it was talked about some, really up until the pair of pop culture pop with
yeah,
with Taps and Zach
yeah,
and all that. There was areas in America you didn't talk about, like when I first started doing this. Like I said, it was 30 years ago. So
mm-hmm,
you have to picture a 16-year-old kid going to the
mm-hmm,
library to check out books on parapsychology and ghost hunting and
yeah.
cryptids and uh,
They'll
uh,
think
you,
they think you're nuts, right?
yeah. The looks I got, the principal actually called me to the office and was like,
You gotta
"Well,
come here. We gotta talk, right?
do we need to put you on the FBI watch list?" I mean, yeah, and so that's one thing I want to say thank you to the para pop culture for. At least they made it where it's a little bit more acceptable for me to say, "Hey, I'm a paranormal investigator," and
Yeah.
that's the term I prefer. I don't call myself a ghost hunter.
No. No.
I'm not hiding ghosts.
No.
I'm not shooting them. I don't have a ghost head hanging on my wall. I'm an investigator.
Yep.
I don't just do ghosts. That's mostly what I do. Like 95% of my investigation errors have been ghosts. But I'll investigate Bigfoot. I'll investigate aliens.
Yeah.
When I lived in Texas, I investigated the chupacabra. If it's paranormal, I'm going to check it
Yeah.
out.
We do everything, like we're everything in a nutshell, right? That's
Well,
what
Right,
we do.
right.
we don't have Bigfoot hunters here. I kind of wish we did, because
Yeah.
if you were one of those people into studying cryptids, this would be an amazing place for you, just because we don't have anyone has done it, but we have thousands of cryptids. And there's
Yeah.
some, and we talked about it. Her and I were actually just talking about it yesterday too, that we thought of, different things that we can do on the show about paranormal Japan, which just us. So we thought about doing cryptids. I'm like, the episode though, one of them would have to be just us randomly listing off like 100 different cryptids, just because
Oh, yeah.
sometimes it's just because there's no one wanting to go investigate or learn about them
No.
or research them. Sometimes they're just sometimes it's a paragraph on them, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's just a description, what
Yeah.
it looked like and where it's located, and that's
Yeah.
it. So I'm like, there's obviously, so I was like, obviously would be here, be like, okay, and this is this, it looks like this, it was found here. Moving on
Yeah.
to the next one. Unfortunately, that's just how it is here, because
Yeah.
no one wants
Yeah.
to take the time
Yeah.
to research this.
Well,
Like, that's unfortunately, like, this is what we have, but we can't tell you more because no one knows more.
Yeah.
Here in Kentucky, we got two famous cryptids. The most noted cryptid. We have the Dog Man instead of Bigfoot. Here in Kentucky, it's Dog Man, and he's actually supposed to be from right where I lived in the EOPL. Well, I'm actually going to go on an investigation in June to look for the Dog Man, and then the other one is the Goat Man, and the Goat Man's an interesting one. because if you've ever seen anything on the Goat Man, supposedly the backstory on the Goat Man is he was like a local farmer or whatever, and he made a deal with the devil to live forever and be all powerful, and he became half man, half goat, and he haunts this bridge. It's called the Pope Lick Bridge. He haunts the bridge, and he tries to hypnotize you, and if he hypnotizes you, you go with him, and you're never seen again. So those are the two famous ones we have in Kentucky. But I personally have my personal belief is like if you actually research it and get into it, you have the abominable snowman or the Yeti. So you have the Yeti, you have Bigfoot, you have Sasquatch, you got the swamp monkey, you got the dog man. To me, that's all the same species. Just they've adapted to the location. So the Yeti is just a cousin to Bigfoot, and then the dog man is just a cousin to Sasquatch. So I mean that's my belief, and then
we definitely believe that each cryptid there has to be like more than one of that species. Just for an example, Mothman. I'm sure you've heard of the Mothman in West Virginia. It has also been seen in South Africa.
Yeah.
So people either believe one or two things, that there's more than one of these species and it can live wherever, or it's one of those interdimensional things and it's jumping through portals, traveling through portals.
I've actually heard people, if you even take Bigfoot, which that's probably the most widely accepted cryptid is Bigfoot, Yeti, whatever you want to call it. And I've had experts theorize that the reason why you can never get a picture of Bigfoot is because of an interdimensional screen portal thing.
Too. I've seen some people have taken videos of what looks like him fading in and out. Yeah.
Or you see, or they'd be the pictures would be distorted, like the pictures that you see of spirits, like either lines go this way or they go like this way, up and down or sideways. It's just like you find that there are similarities within that realm, and it's kind of interesting,
It's very interesting, and I mean you can't dismiss. With all the reports there are of these cryptids, you can't dismiss it because there has to be some basis on it. Somebody didn't just wake up one day and say, "Well, I'm going to make up a blood sucking dog thing," or I'm going to make up a 7-foot ape humanoid with huge feet. So there has to be something in there. So it's interesting.
It really is. And the thing is that we don't know anything about where you live or this planet called Earth. We don't know nothing about it, and it deserves recognition. It deserves to be studied, and we just have to know more.
And that's even going back to the ghost standpoint. You have to people always ask, why are the ghosts still here? That's a hard question. It's really just theory, because as much as we like to consider paranormal investigating a science, really it's just a pseudoscience. And I kind of have a running theory, like when it comes to children's spirits, a lot of times why they're still, I feel the reason they're still there a lot of times is because they really don't understand the concept of crossing over. We don't teach a kid, if you die, you need to cross over. Go into the light or whatever. We don't explain that to them. So if they do die, they may be afraid of the light or whatever it is, and so they're left wondering, or they may just be looking for their parents. That may be what they're looking for. And then And then, of course, you have...
I do know someone who's investigated the place, and they would talk to a girl. This couple died in a car wreck nearby. They talked to the spirit of the girl first, and she didn't cross over because she didn't see her boyfriend that was in the car with her, so she was looking for him. Days later, they go back to, they've been investigating on and off for next few days, and then they said days later, they did talk to the boyfriend, and they told the boyfriend, like, well, your girlfriend is looking for you, and they just said, and he said, tell her I said I'm sorry, but the reason why he wasn't crossing over is he knew where he was going, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's going to heaven. So he's like, let her go to heaven. I'm not going, unfortunately. So, and he kind of left it at that. Like, she's going to heaven. I can't join her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have that sometimes. They know where they're going, so they don't want to go to hell. And then you have the ones that unfinished business. Like we had one that we investigated not too long ago, where the lady's husband was murdered on a business trip, and he came back, to help her solve his murder. And so, you got the unsolved, it may be, I guess it could just be, I forgot to pay my credit card bill. I don't know. But whatever unfinished business they feel like has kept them there. And then really, I think, in my opinion, and, my experience, I think the majority of our hauntings, if that's the term you want to use, or activity, the majority of activity we get, I think it's more residual than anything. And the residual is just the spirit walking by the same place it always did. So I think we get a lot of residual more than anything. And then, unfortunately, we do have the demonic spirit, which they were never human to begin with. So that's a whole different thing. And that's less than 1%, people. Less than 1% of hauntings are demonic. Yep. Don't believe the YouTube people.
Yeah, I agree with you there. The thing that I can't stand about what I do is I get mostly children. And it's heartbreaking, it's hard, and sometimes I want to quit because I can't stand it. And I get children who are killed, I get children who are raped and murdered. I just why do I do this, right? And I have to think, and I said, okay, you do this because you want to help them, okay? Like I said, yeah, but it's just too much. And I get cold cases too, and I don't like them either. Like, sometimes I say, no, not this. But then I said, you gotta help me. I go, okay, I'll do this. I'm screaming because I just don't like it, right? But you do it anyways. You wake up tomorrow and say, okay, I got another day. I gotta do this. They gotta finish up this cold case. I gotta finish up this rape case. I go, it never ends, right?
Right. And sometimes with my gift, sometimes I'm revealed like the whole answer. But a lot of times in my dreams, I see all the circumstances that lead up to the event. So I'll see and then a lot of times I'll forget about it, and then I'll have like a deja vu moment. I'm like, I dreamed that. I'm like, something's about to happen. And I was actually able to help one of the police departments down here. They found out about my gift, and they didn't accuse me of being a devil worshiper. They decided they wanted me to help them. So they came and they're like, I'm like, I was like, you understand? My gift is not. It's not like a TV where you can fine tune it and I can give you what you want. If it wants to reveal itself to me, it will. And he's like, yes, I understand that. But he's like, I want to take you to the places that we found stuff and show you what we have and see if you can help us fill in the blanks. And eventually I was, but like you said, I didn't like the experience. I wanted to scream the whole time because I had the victim spirit screaming at me, and I had like the murderer's spirit screaming at me, and I had the family spirit energy screaming at me, and I was like, I was like, I'm glad I was able to find closure for the victim and for the family. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this again.
No. Yeah. Like people think you're okay. What am I thinking? Like you're Madame Medusa, in the carnival. I said, nope, don't pull a clap down. Sorry, like I said, what? I said, don't be like, okay, you're being that's stupid. Okay, like you're just like you're giving me not the credit that I deserve. Okay, we're not like that. Like yeah,
I get where you're
it's
coming from because I had the gift when I was younger too, but I grew up First Baptist Church minister's daughter in Michigan,
yeah,
and you having a gift like this, they believed like you were either doing witchcraft or you're summoning the
yeah,
devil or you're
yeah,
worshiping the devil or
yeah,
you're doing something that a demon is attached to you or
yeah,
possessed you. And me as a kid being scared, I'm just like, I'm not doing any of that, especially because me as a kid,
yeah,
the closest thing I knew to like witchcraft at the time was that movie Hocus Pocus. So I'm like,
yeah,
I'm not doing any of that.
yeah,
And it's so hard when no one believes you because you can see them, and because
mhm,
they believed everything was a demon. So if you can
yeah,
see them, you're obviously seeing demons, and you're obviously doing something that
yeah.
makes
Right.
you
I mean,
want to do it.
you know, I,
I'm
I, I
I
was raised
agree
in
with
church
you.
too, and so yeah, I got a lot of that. Especially like I said, being in the Bible Belt. So yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And of course,
I get that.
I grew up, in the '80s and '90s, and so that was the whole uh, heavy metal is the devil music.
Yeah,
If you play the record backwards, it tells you Satan speaks to you, all that stuff. So yeah, so it was really crazy. And then my youth leader's daughter decided to she decided to dabble into witchcraft. I don't know how much witchcraft she could really get into in Western Kentucky in 1990. But anyway,
yeah,
she dabbled in witchcraft and started playing with the Ouija board and the seven doors and all that stuff. And her dad and the church try to oust her, try to ostracize her. And I'm like, come on, people. I'm like, we're supposed to love each other. We're not supposed to, you know,
Yeah,
if it was truly demonic, you would know.
yeah,
She's just trying to fight. She's just rebelling against you more than anything.
yeah,
So yeah, it was a crazy time. Crazy
yeah.
time.
I grew up as Catholic, right? I have friends, and they said you can't do this. I go, why can't I? Because you're not supposed to be doing this. I said, where does it say I'm not supposed to be doing this? Because it's against what you're supposed to be doing. I said, what am I supposed to be doing? What is it? Like I'm saying, nope, sorry. That's why I kind of like I moved away from the religion because I will say prayer. I will do things to help cleanse areas, but I will not have anybody tell me what I can't and can't do because the religion says I can't or can't do. Like baloney.
Well,
Okay.
it's not supposed to be when people mess. From the church standpoint, it's not about religion. It's not about the domination. What it's supposed to be about is a relationship with Jesus. That's what it's supposed to be about. And
Yeah.
people try to take the Bible and take verses out of context to make it say
Yeah.
stuff. Like I have people try to trap me all the time, and they're like, "Well, in Ephesians it says you're not supposed to talk to dead spirits because you don't know if the evil are dead." I'm like, "Why don't you quote the next verse if you're going to
Yeah.
quote the Bible?" I'm like, "Don't take it out of context because the next verse says don't talk to dead spirits because you don't know if they're evil or not unless unless you're trained to know what you're doing." I was like,
Exactly.
so let's take the whole chapter into context instead of using what verse you want to use. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's just for their own convenience, right? It's
yeah.
not everything that's there. Like you could take words, you could twist it, you could change it to make it fit for what you feel or what you think, but it really doesn't say that at all, And I think we were put on Earth. We were born. We were there to help the spirits move on or help the spirits what they need. We were there for that one reason. And we are
God gave us this ability. He wouldn't have gave it to us if it was evil, because God don't make mistakes. I mean, God's not evil. He don't make mistakes. So He gave us this ability. So He gave it to us to use. So He didn't make a mistake giving it to us. So therefore, it's not evil. God can't be around evil.
Yeah.
So the religious people like that, they don't like to argue with me, because I can turn the word, I can turn the Bible back and actually quote it to them. I know the Bible as well or better than they do. So they come at me and they're like, blah blah blah. I'm like, hold on. They're like, oh, you're gonna go to hell. I'm like, why am I going to go to hell? I was like, Jesus is my Lord and Savior, so I'm not going to hell. They're like, well, you sin. I'm like, there's only one unforgivable sin, and that's not anything except for blasphemy of the Spirit. Blasphemy of the Spirit. Do you understand? Do we know what that means? Well, blasphemy of the Spirit, what it means is that you know the truth. You know Jesus is God's Son, but you deny it. That's the only unforgivable sin. So basically, not accepting Him. So long as you accept Him, that's the only your sins are forgiven. And so it's not everything else can be forgiven. Being a murderer can be forgiven. Being people kill me. I'm kind of on a soapbox now, and I apologize, but people kill me in this generation because they want to judge like homosexuals and all that stuff. They're like, and the thing is, in God's eyes, a sin is a sin. So if you're going to say that's a sin, so is obesity, so is stealing a piece of gum. So you're just as guilty as they are. God don't put levels of sin. That was the Catholic Church did that. In God's eyes, a sin is a sin. So and plus, it's not my job to judge. I don't want that job. I don't want that job. God didn't put me here to judge. God put me here to help people with my gift that He gave me. So that's what I'm going to do. So if you're going to hate me. I don't care. I'm going to sleep at night no matter what you think about me.
Yeah. Exactly how I feel. And you know what? Enough of this judging. Enough of this stuff. Whatever you think is whatever you think. It's fine with me. I don't care. Like, you stay on your side of the road, I'll stay on my side of the road. And I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing because I know it gives me pleasure. And I'm here to help you. And if you need it, by God, don't forget to call me or write to me. I'm here 24/7. Like, I will be there for you. And it's just hard. And another thing I have to say to this one is that, how much do you charge? I don't charge a penny for my services, right? Yeah, zero. I don't. Too hot. Actually, I don't charge.
So I actually posted on my team's page. I posted periodically, but so if you watch my team page, you'll see it again here in the next week or so. I actually put on there to be Larry of teams that charge. I don't charge anything. Unfortunately, because I do have limited funds, I have to limit how far I'm able to go. I try to stay within an hour and a half's drive. Because but I mean, with that being said, if somebody calls me and says, we have this kid, and this is the situation, if I can't find somebody in my network that I trust to have the situation, I'm going to drive that 2 hours. But yeah, I don't charge anything.
No. Yeah.
No.
And the thing is that, and I do sessions in my home too with people with mother and father, and the son has died, and they're having a hard time dealing with it. So I said, okay, I'll help you. And they said, how much do you charge? I said, I don't charge anything to help you with that, to talk to your son. And they said, oh my God, you don't? I go, no, I don't. And they said, oh, how do you sustain yourself? I sustain myself the way I need to sustain myself, right? So, it's sad because, like,
Yeah,
for
and you know back to what we were saying earlier. You know, especially if it's if we're having to go in and fix somebody else's mess. Like I had this lady. She was just commenting on some pictures that I posted on my page and stuff, and she's like, "We have that happen to us every day in our house." I'm like, "Have you ever had anybody come and look at it?" And she's like, "Yeah, I had such and such team, and they told me that I had 2 demons that I couldn't get rid of, and I had 3 portals that couldn't be closed." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "No." I'm like, "I'm gonna come down there and see what's going on." I'm like,
yeah,
first of all, I was like, "There's no demons that you can't get rid of." I was like,
yeah,
if it is demonic, but I was like, the chances of it being demonic is not very likely, especially if you have 2 demons. I was like,
yeah,
and if it's a portal, it can be closed, and the chances of you having multiple portals is unlikely too. I'm like,
yeah,
I'm just gonna say you had some bad advice, and this was an 82-year-old lady. She was
yeah,
scared to death. I was like, I hate when teams do that.
yeah,
If you go into someplace and you can't help them, just tell them you can't help them. Don't
yeah,
BS them. Just say, "I can't help you. Let me try to get hold of somebody who can help you." You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah,
How do you
yeah,
tell someone you have 2 demons and 3 portals in your house you can't do anything about and leave?
yeah. Like
Right.
That's
really?
you're gonna panic them even more.
Yeah, they're
Especially at 85 years
what am I
old.
gonna do? Yeah,
Yeah.
That is unnecessary stress that she did not have to go through. You
yeah,
gotta be careful because that unnecessary stress could wind up in a hospital, if not die.
yeah. Or whatever it is could say, okay, this person's weak. I'm gonna get a hold of her, and I'm gonna make her even worse. Right?
Or yeah, you
It's
could possibly have made it worse because now this
yeah,
lady is living in fear of her house, and
yeah,
whatever it is could be using that fear against her.
yeah.
So
And honestly, it shouldn't have. If that's what they felt like was going on, they should have discovered that through when they did the walkthrough, and they
yeah.
knew that they couldn't help them. So when they did the walkthrough, they should have been like, "I can't help you." They should have came and done the actual investigation and panicked the lady. And the whole thing is the reason they did this is they were doing a live episode on their YouTube channel, and their YouTube
Oh
channel
wow.
gets like the YouTube channel gets like 1,200 views. So that's what they were worried about. They were worried about their view.
Oh
I'm
wow.
like, if you're doing a residential
you shouldn't be
investigation,
doing it.
if you're doing a residential, you don't need to be on YouTube. You don't need to be on
Yeah.
any of that. You need to be there focused on helping the family. It's not you shouldn't even do a YouTube live. Your focus should be strictly on helping that family.
Like, oh wow, what I'm gonna say that one is really, you gotta be, like,
For
I would be
privacy
like
reasons,
For
you
this,
need
sizzle.
you know.
to.
I would have been,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I was so mad. They were 3 hours away from me, but as soon as she told me, I was like, I got friends that I trust that's right within 5 minutes of you. I was like, let me make some phone calls and I'll get you some help, and that's exactly what I did.
yeah. I mean, shame on you, right?
Yep. Shame on them. Exactly.
Yeah. I mean that really that hits a really bad nerve in me right when I hear something like that.
Well, and unfortunately, we have ones like that. They're more worried about their brand than they are actually
Yeah.
helping somebody. Like this team that I was talking about that did that. They have their vehicles with their name all over their vehicle. All this stuff. And they've only been investigating for like a year and a half, and they decided on their own that they were a medium, and that all this stuff, and I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, yeah. You could say, go figure, right?
I feel
Jesus
like
mercy.
we've all met someone who's
Yeah,
claimed to be a psychic medium that wasn't.
yeah.
Right,
Oh, there's a
right.
lot of quacks out there. I tell you, there's a whole bunch of them. Like, yeah,
Yeah,
And
I mean,
sometimes,
there's so many cracks out there that it almost makes me afraid to tell people, hey, I have the gift, because they're going to be like, oh, you're fake.
Yeah.
Or like you said earlier, they're going to be like, what, can you tell me what I'm thinking? I'm like,
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not, I'm not a fortune teller, you know.
no, yeah,
That's a different kind of skill there.
yeah.
Right.
Sorry, don't do that. Down into that work. Like it's just yeah.
Yeah,
Like
but
educating people comes with
right.
education, right? You educate the public of what a clairvoyant is and what they do, and we don't tell fortunes, so we don't tell you if you're gonna be in love with that person or that in love with that person. No, the law don't go there, and we don't go there. I don't go there either. Like it's there's just so much. Yeah, it's a difficult subject, and it starts with education of what clairvoyants do and what we do, how we work, and not all of us will get the same thing as the other person will. Like I don't may not get the same thing as you will, and you may not get the same thing as I will. Like we all work on different frequencies, right? So it's just totally different, and I work with spirits. I talk to them, and they come to my house, especially the ones that need help, and some of them I don't want to talk to. I said, okay, take a number, bye. And living in Japan, I have the suicide spirits. Okay, they're not the most nicest ones that you want to be with. So I usually send them away because they can be jealous, they can be angry, they can be whatever, they can be after whatever that you can't give them. So I just don't bother. And it's a whole new ball game with being a clairvoyant. Like you interact with, you pick and choose who you want to interact with, and you're very careful about it. And especially where I am, and it's totally different. It's totally different from America, and yeah, it's just like, how do you explain it? I can't.
Yeah, I mean, my wife thinks I'm strange sometimes because we live directly across from a cemetery, and whenever we drive by it or stuff, I say good morning to everybody in the graveyard because I don't want them to I don't want them to follow me, so I say good
Yep.
morning to them, and I tell people, they ask me what it's like, and I'm like, to tell you the truth, the movie Sixth Sense actually does a good job of portraying what it's like. You know,
Yeah.
because the spirits really just want you to help them, but as a kid, you don't understand that, so you're afraid of it. So until you learn to use your gift to help the spirits, you're afraid of them, and then once you learn to use the gift to help them, it's no longer like it's a scary thing. You just have to learn who to communicate with and learn who not to communicate with.
I have people tell me that they'd love to have my gift. I said, no, you don't.
No.
No, you don't. I said, no, you don't. And they said, I wish I had your gift. I said, no, you don't. Because sometimes I don't want what I have, right? And I have people, I know one clairvoyant, okay, who she'll tell her client everything. And I said, hold on a sec, even something that you shouldn't? She goes, yeah, I'll tell them everything. And she keeps on getting sick all the time, right? And she's been sick so many times you won't believe it. I can't even count the numbers on my fingers how many times she's been sick. I said, you know what? The reason why she's sick is because she's saying things that she shouldn't be saying, and you have to be very careful about what you tell your client, because
Yep.
you might cause rift, you might cause a fight, you might cause something that is not good. So it like I said, being in this job, you have great responsibility, right? And it's not easy. You say, oh, it's so easy, just tell them whatever they need to know. I said, no, you don't. No, I don't. And I
No.
can't, and I won't, and I still won't, even to this day. And
Right,
there's some
like
stuff.
you said, it is a great responsibility. That's for the people, for the outside, like you said, the ones that's being like, "Well, I wish I had the gift." I'm like, you have to understand, it is a gift, but it's also a curse, and it's definitely a great responsibility. That's the reason,
Yeah.
like I said, that's the reason. I believe that to me, it's a God-given gift, and for whatever reason, He chose us to give it to us. But it's also a responsibility we have to accept. So, and you have to know, like you said, you have to know what to share and what not to share. It's definitely, yeah.
It's really hard too because the people who I know are really good friends, and they want to know when I said, yeah, okay, I'll help you. But I only tell them half of it because I know the rest of it, they won't like it, or it'll cause them to fight in the family. I said, yeah, I can't tell you that. And I need to, I'm just, like, I'm debating. And I said, okay, I can't tell you. It's just one of those things that you just can't go there. And I refuse to go there. I'm sorry. I won't go there.
I was talking to my aunt that I'm closest to, and she's like, tell me what you feel, tell me what you think. I'm like, there's a lady behind you. I'm like, you have a lady attached to you. I was like, I don't know. I was like, I don't know who it is right now. But I was like, I see, I'm like, and she's like, I don't want to know anymore. I'm like, really? I'm like, so, but yeah, but. So yeah, they think they want to know, then they don't.
Yeah, and you don't end up not telling them because for safety reasons you just can't go there.
Right.
And do you ever get somebody who comes up to you and say, "Hey, I can, you want to know, I'm a clairvoyant. I can tell you blah blah blah." And I said, okay. Tell me, and then they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't read you." I go, "Okay, fine, bye."
Yeah, all the time. And the ones that kill me is the one that you see like in the paranormal chat rooms. That's like, just tell me your name, or just tell me what color shirt you have on, and I'll tell you.
They'll tell you who's around you, what messages they have for you, and I'm like,
yeah. I'm like, bullshit!
Message me.
Bullshit!
Message me. I have a message for you. Message me. And I go, yeah, right. Okay, I'm good.
And then it says inbox me. What they're doing is they're hoping you actually are stupid enough to inbox them.
Yeah.
They make up some crap, and then they tell you, "Oh, you need a cleansing. For me to do this, I need you to send me $250."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like saying, "Oh."
So if you ladies want a cleansing, I'll do it for the discount price.
Yeah.
For $125.
You know what? You know what really bugs me? They have these people who come on Facebook. Okay, they said, "Okay, come on, give me your name, blah blah blah. Just say hello to me," and then when my name comes up, they say hi, and they jump over me, and I said, "What the hell? Like, you just jumped over me? Like, what?" And I thought, and I said,
"Oh, you don't have any messages for me?"
Yeah, I like playing with them sometimes. I'm like, they're like, I can tell you something. I was like, okay, tell me. And like you said, they're like, oh, I can't read you. I was like, what do you mean you can't read me? I'm like, I'm a clairvoyant. I have extra energy. So if you can't read me, you're full of shit.
yeah. It's so funny. Sometimes I come on the show. I come on I come on when they come on. Then when they come on Facebook, when they have a live session, I said, "Okay, hi." And like I give a whole bunch of hearts there because he's send me those hearts. I go, "Okay, I'll send you a whole bunch of hearts." and I end up going, ha 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 ha. It's so funny. I don't know. I think I'm teasing them.
It reminds me of the old psychic hotline that they had back in the 90s and the 2000s. You see at night, they'd be like, call 1-900 blah blah blah, and we can tell you what your future holds and blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, they can call me at my phone number and give me $25, so I can tell them something too. It ain't gonna be true, but I can tell them.
Yeah, I just sometimes I just like to have fun, but I know they can't read me. I know, and it's okay. I don't care. Jump over me. Who cares? But I'm saying I'm good. I know myself. I'm good. I know who I am. I know what I need to do. I'm good. Okay, no problem. you know.
Right. Right. And
Yeah.
I got a few friends that that I trust and are mediums and stuff. If I need a reading or a cleansing or stuff, I go to them because I know they're real and I know they're not going to charge me $200 and they're not fake and they're not cheats. So that's who I go to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Me
I
too.
don't understand. I don't understand the people that's trying to trick people. I mean, they just give the legit people a bad name. Make it hard for the ones of us that's actually trying to help people.
And there's so many people out there that says, "Oh, I need a dog. I need a clairvoyant. I need somebody to help me. Like, what am I gonna do at work? How am I gonna do this? How am I gonna do that?" I go, "Oh my god!" Like get therapy. Like, see a psychiatrist if you need help. Like,
Right. And the thing people have to realize, they don't take somebody like me and you to do a cleansing. They can do a cleansing themselves. They just have to have the right sage. They might need us to walk them through it the first time, but they don't need to pay anybody $200 or anything. It's them that's being cleansed. It's not me. So why am I cleansing it? So that's just like going back to the ghosts, the spirits, whatever you want to call it. What people have to realize is the spirits can actually cross over whenever they want to. Something's keeping them there. We're not the ones that cross them over. We might assist them and show them how to get there. We might show them the light. We might show them the portal, but we're not the one that's crossing them over. They're crossing over, and same thing with cleansing. We're not the ones that it's not us cleansing them. It's the energy cleansing them. It's not us.
Yeah,
And,
or you need cleansing yourself because you're bringing them in there. Because you're bringing them in because you're doing the one that leads us. People that making them angry, right? And but I love these people who say who spread holy water all over their house and they think they. I said, do you know that's gonna piss them off more because you're doing this? Then you're like oh, I got cleanse. Like this for holy water. I said,
you got to know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing and you're not using the tools right, like you said, you're making it worse. You're pissing them off. And that's just like going back to like holy water and all that stuff. The thing that makes holy water holy is the power of Jesus. It's not really the water. The water is just water. So it's the belief in the power of Jesus that makes the holy water. So that's what people have to understand. All the stuff we have is just stuff given to us by
it's just
tools.
It's how you use them. Like nothing works. You can use the cool stuff because all you want. Nothing works unless you believe. You have to have it in here in order to make it work. Because like throwing out crucifix. Yeah, okay, I can do that too. My husband can do that. My son can do that. My kid can do that, right? But it really doesn't mean shit. I'm sorry for using that, but it doesn't mean shit. And unless if you don't believe it, it ain't gonna work, right? So,
Exactly. Well, that's just like when we cleanse the house. I'll do the whole cleansing. Holy water, sage. The whole frankincense. The whole thing, but it's still just a tool. I know how to use it so it works. And then, like when we actually make the spirit leave the building, I put a REM pod at the window, so the REM pod will go off when the spirit crosses it. But I make the homeowner tell the spirit to leave because the homeowner has to believe it. And the homeowner has to be the one that tells the spirit to leave. Because when I tell the spirit to leave, I might cleanse. I cleanse me of the spirit, but I didn't cleanse the homeowner or her property. So she has to be the one that says, "Leave my place in the name of Jesus."
They say, "Why do you have to do that? Because it's your house, not mine. It's your house. You want your house back? You tell the thing to leave, and it's your place, isn't it?" They go, "Yeah, we'll do it." And they go, "Okay." I'm like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, but say it like you mean it. don't say, "Oh, really?" Like, "Oh gosh, what am I gonna like?" Don't be like that. Just say it like you mean, like, "Get out of my house. This is my house. You don't own it. I own this house. Now leave." Like, you
You
have
no
to
longer
say it.
wanted here.
Yeah, you have to say it with conviction. Say it like you mean it. Not no giggling, no none of that shit. That's it. Say it like you mean it, and say it
Right.
like you really want your house back, right? And they go, "Yeah." Well, say it like you want your house back, right? And they go, "Okay." Like, and then
Yeah,
they have to
you're
say,
claiming
like,
your
yeah,
house, so say you're claiming your house back. So make
yeah,
it sound like it, and believe it. You have to believe it, and you have to say it with conviction. Yes.
yeah. And like people say, "Well, why don't you do it?" "Because it ain't my house. That's why. I don't live here. That's why." They go, "Oh, okay." Like,
Do you want me to possess your house too? Yeah, exactly, yeah, and
yeah.
yeah,
And if you don't like it, move. I said, "You don't like it, move out." And
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. When we investigate a house, I like to investigate without the family there. But when it comes time to cleansing it, I call them back, and I'm like you said, because it's their house. They need to be the one. They have to be the one that tells the spirit, "I'm reclaiming my house. You go somewhere else."
yep, yep, yep. Or if it's a bad spirit, you got to kick it out, and that's it. They said, "Well, I mean, he's a blah blah blah." I said, "I don't care if he's a bad spirit. He's making you sick. You got to kick it out. I got to kick it out, and I kick it out." And they said, "Oh, where does he go if you kick it out?" I said, "I don't care. I kicked it out. It's out. It's gone. Okay, and it don't belong in your house. It don't belong in my house. It don't belong in anybody's house. It
Right.
like
And I tell people when I cleanse a house, I remind them that it's not like a one-time thing. They need to in about 30 days they need to burn the sage and cleanse it again. To make sure that nothing comes back.
yeah,
Put the salt around the house.
yep, yep,
As a I don't know. I don't. And everybody's like, they're like, "Just salt?" And I was like, "Yes." They're like, "Does it have to be a special kind of salt?" I'm like, "Well, I'm going to tell you to get like ice cream salt because it doesn't wash away as good." But I was like, "You can use whatever kind of salt you want." I'm like, but especially with the salt, what you have to remember is if it rains or snows or whatever, it's going to wash the salt away. So you have to go back there and put it back out. So yeah, people think, well, they cleansed it once, I'm good. I'm like, not necessarily.
Not allowed to do that.
no, no, no. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it works immediately. Sometimes it takes longer than that. Sometimes it depends on how bad the situation was. It depends on what was there and
And
how
why
much
they're
work.
there, why they're attached to that place. We did an investigation of this guy. He's actually my wife's cousin's husband. So, and it was his dad's house, and he died, and they sold the house to this Mexican couple, and they started having activity. So they contacted Ben. They're like, "You think maybe your dad's here as a spirit?" Well, Ben knew that I did this, so he's like, "You want to go check it out?" And come to find out, Ben had always told everybody. Ben's dad had always told everybody that he wanted to die in the house. He died of cancer, and he actually died in his recliner in this house. He built this house, so that's how much he was part of this house. So
Yeah,
like you said, it took several cleansings there because of how much he was, because he was actually literally part of the house.
that was his place, and he loved it. And yeah, he died before he should have died, and his time. And it sometimes that happens when people are in sad situations
Yep.
because they didn't want to die. They died before their time, and the only thing you could do is say, "Okay, I understand. I'm sorry, but I mean, you have to go, and it's your time, and I'm sorry that you died. It's just tragic." And you know,
Well, well,
having
well,
heart, having a heart, and understanding is the best tool that you have as an investigator. And
100%. 100%.
yeah, yeah. Share the love.
Yeah.
Share the love.
So the way we ended up getting kind of finally crossover is Ben. I had Ben join us, his son, and we got him to decide he wanted to cross over to see his wife because his wife had passed away 5 years before him. So Ben was like, "Don't you want to be with mom?" And he was like, "Yeah." So that was finally what we used, and we actually got an EVP of him saying, "I see Bernice." That was his wife's name. "I see Bernice," and we was like, "Go to her."
Yeah, that's what I usually do too. If people who don't, if I see a spirit that's wandering around, they don't know how to cross over. I usually call. I used to ask that person, "Do you have another relative who died, who really loved this person?" They said, "Yeah, I do." And they said, "Okay, I'll call that person out, and I'll have that person talk to me." And I said, "Okay, this person has died. See this person thing whatsoever, and do you want to please take him to you, and so both of you can be together." They said, "Okay, I'll do that." So yeah, that's what I do too, and it's the most heartwarming feeling you've ever had since you helped a person who has crossed over, who has died, who really didn't want to go, and you let them go in. And sometimes I get them back to thank you, bye bye, and they leave.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the most rewarding feeling that you could ever get when you have that, when you see that, when you feel that. And that's why I think I keep on doing it. Even though I don't like it, even though I don't want to, I do it anyways, right?
Yeah, she's had a
Right.
crossover with people who didn't want to cross over, but
Yeah. And sometimes I make them do it because I have no choice. Like people who are being like spirits who are being really like a real pain in the butt to others, I said, "Okay, that's it. You're going." And that's
Right.
it.
Yeah, but
You don't
I've
get
been
no
there.
choice.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
and they say, people say, "Well, they're kind of nice. We want them in our house." I said, "Yeah, you want them in your house because you feel that selfish reason. That's not what it's supposed to be like. They have to move on. Like you want them there because you want them there for your own reason. I'm sorry, no, that doesn't work."
No.
People are the most weirdest. I don't know. I think I get the crazy ones. I think I get the crazies. I don't
she's
Yep.
know.
she's had to cross over someone for me. I was casually dating someone for about 4 months before he passed away. I say casually because we're seeing each other. We never officially had a title, if that makes sense. He passed away, but he was sad that he never got this before he passed away. He never started the whole family thing. Well, unfortunately, it's kind of too late now. But he decided he didn't want to cross over for that reason, and he would visit me. And at first, I didn't care that he visited me, but then it turned into, he turned into his storing energy, and I'd even tell him, I'd be like, by the time she crossed him over, he passed away 4.5 years ago, and I told him, I was just like, man, it has to be lonely for you, not crossed over, being stuck here. I don't want you to be alone.
Yeah.
Please cross over, be with your family before, I, because it has to be. And I'm like, I'm sure when he wasn't visiting me, he was seeing his family. I mean, I'm just like, you can't, but he also can't interact with them. So I'm like, it has to be lonely,
Yeah.
not being able to talk to your loved ones here. It has to be lonely. Don't. And I had other psychics talk to him, other people. They even had their spirit advisors talk to him, but he always told everyone the same thing: "I'm not ready to cross over. I'm not ready to cross over." And I even told him, like, I feel like you're living in a fantasy of what we could be because it's not like we ever had enough time to really figure it out. But then he was still obsessed with that fact that I was the last one to see him. One of the last things he told me when he was alive was I could see myself being with you and having a family. Then he passed away. So I think he got stuck on that. So then he
There's
kept
one
storing.
thing that I could tell you. I told her afterwards. I told her a couple days, maybe
Yeah,
2
I
weeks
had
later,
to
right?
call her. I had to call her. I had to call her because he was storing more and more energy. He wasn't using it. And at revisit, I got more and more nervous.
Yeah.
Like I just had that gut feeling. And then finally one day I was just so nervous and I'm like, I can't. I called Irene. I'm like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
He keeps saying I'm not ready to cross over, but I'm like, man, I'm getting so. I have that really bad feeling.
Yeah.
He's storing more energy. I'm not sure what he's gonna do with it. I just have that really bad feeling. Every time he visits me now, I get it worse and worse. But she had to force him to cross over because I'm like, I
Yeah.
can't do this.
And you know what he told me? He told me that I'm gonna unalive her so
Yeah.
so she could be with me. I said, hell no, we're not gonna do this. And I said, And I couldn't tell her that
No,
at
I
that
knew he was
time.
gonna do something like that because I'm like, because I had that gut feeling and I kept getting more nervous and I'm like, I feel him storing more energy.
Yeah.
And I'm freaking out.
And he said, I'll take her with me. That's what he told me. I said, oh no, you don't. You're not gonna take her with you. And I said, we're not gonna do this, right? And that's why I made him cross over. And he was pissed off as can be. Like he was cussing and cursing at me, telling me to blank off and everything else, right? It's not that I heard that word before, that. I've heard that word so many times. Like, yeah, okay, whatever. You can say whatever you want. You can tell me where to go, what to do. I don't give a rat's ass, right? I'll do it. And I did it. And then he was gone. They said, and then Amanda said, thank you. And I said, okay. And I was debating, should I tell Amanda what he said? And I said, nah, I won't tell him. I won't tell her. And then I said to her, Amanda, I got something to tell you. I said to her, she said, what? Can I be frank with you? Don't get mad at me, okay? Because I got something to tell you. And I told her, and she goes, no. And I go, yep. And she goes, really? I go, mm-hmm. And she goes, yeah, well, I figured that. And I said, yep. And yeah, it freaked her out.
That's what I told her. I'm like, yeah, I was getting that really bad gut feeling. I'm like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I don't care if he's not ready. I'm not going to find out what he's going to do. I don't want to know. I don't want him here to find out.
But
yeah, I had one time that there was actually what happened is this lady just got married and they just moved into their house, right? And they moved into her parents' house, and all of a sudden her high school boyfriend spirit started coming. He had died in Iraq. They were engaged when he died, and apparently he was still, in his mind, she was still his, and so that's why he was there, and that was an intense. Did I say intense? Intense session because we were. His name was Sergeant Anderson. That's how we addressed him. He never gave us his first name. It was just Sergeant Anderson. Like his name was Philip. We know that from the wife. And but Sergeant Anderson is how he instructed me to. First, Sergeant Anderson is how he instructed us to address him, which was fine with me because I was a military guy, So I was like, I can address you as First Sergeant Anderson. If you want to address me as Sergeant Wilson, I'm like, we can do this. So how somehow he wasn't even really convinced he was dead.
Yeah.
Which that was a new one for me. I had heard of it, but I had never actually been there. You know what I'm saying? Most of every spirit that I had dealt with up until that point understood they were dead, but Philip didn't understand he was dead. In his mind, he was coming home from Afghanistan, and he was ready to marry his wife and start his life. So, in his mind, she was cheating on him with this new guy, and so we had to convince him that he had passed, and we convinced him that he wanted Mary's happiness, and that Mary wasn't cheating on him. Mary grieved him for 6 years, and it took her 4 years before she even went on a date, and it was like a therapy session, and everybody was crying. I was crying. Mary was crying. Her new husband was crying. It was just emotional, but finally, once we got him to realize that he had passed away, and that Mary did still love him, and that she did grieve him and stuff, and we also had to convince him that Ken was a good man, because he didn't want to just go into any man, so this took like 4 hours, 4 hours of intense. But eventually he wanted to cross over. He's like, I want to go home with my mom. So that's once we convinced him that nobody was cheating on him, and all that stuff, getting across over was actually relatively easy. But it was intense for a while, because he was convinced that Ken was stealing a woman. He actually had enough energy that he threw something across the room. It was a book. He actually threw a book across the room. So it was pretty intense for a while.
Yeah, I agree with you. And it's like convincing the dead that they died is sort of like another story. Yeah, I agree with you there.
I knew someone whose house was haunted, and the person didn't realize the previous owner was caught in a drive-by shooting, and the person didn't realize they died because they got shot in the back of the head. And it is
my
one of those
gosh.
things where sometimes if when you die tragically in an accident, you don't realize you're dead. They didn't realize they were dead, and then they just saw they're living their life in their home, and they just see this strange person, which I'm assuming to them, I don't know if you don't know that you're dead. Do you see the living as ghosts? That's what I always wondered.
Yeah.
Because then
Yeah.
this person was then the new person. Obviously, when they bought the house, they started renovating it, and weird
Mm.
things would happen. And finally, they knew they had.
That always gets stuff going. And even if the spirit knows they're dead and they're there, you have to ask their permission before you renovate a house. You can't just go in and renovate. My strangest experience overall in 30 years of doing this is I was a combat medic when I was in the Army. So I was on the battlefield, and I actually saw on 2 instances a fellow soldier die and then become a spirit, and that was freaky.
Yeah. I mean, how, man, that must have been something else to even, wow, I couldn't even, that must have been something to really feel and see, unless you've been there, you don't.
He was screaming for help, but he was dead. Like a grenade had landed and blown his legs and arms off. But so his body was going, but then you saw like the 4 apparition of him in spirit form screaming for help, saying, "Sergeant Wilson, help, help!"
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Like how
Crazy.
Yeah, I mean, man, that must have been one difficult place to do to be, right? And to see things that you're really not ready to see, and have that experience happen to you. Man, I couldn't even think about it. I couldn't even dream. It's just something we think about how bad and how sad it is, and we see it on TV about the wars, and the people are trying, the combat officers are trying to save medic is trying to save this person's life, and
I mean, we're going in. I hadn't even thought about how my gifts would work. In the battlefield. That wasn't even anything I thought about. I was just there as a medic to try to help my my fellow soldiers. I hadn't even thought about. I may see a spirit in the middle of the battlefield. And in that situation, I was, I convinced him that he needed to cross over. That I told him, I'd make sure that his family knew he, died serving the country and honorably. But he just needed to cross over. He didn't want to. I was like, you don't want to be roaming Afghanistan for the rest of your life, So. But I actually kept one of his dog tags that I still have to this day. One of his dog tags. So.
Like being a clairvoyant, going over there and doing that, and seeing stuff that you're not used to seeing, that must have been really difficult for you as what you do now and what you did back then. We can't even fathom that, right?
You right. Turn on the light. Yeah, I mean, I come from a military family, so I was a fourth generation to go in, and then my son's actually going in now. So going in, I was honored to serve.
Mm-hmm.
I should have thought out how my clairvoyance was going to be in a war zone. That's something that you can't prepare for. So yeah, with the first time it happened, like I said, the first time I saw that spirit, I was like, this is intense.
Yep. I mean, it's funny, when I was watching the inauguration this year, I had spirit from the unknown soldier who came to me, goes, hi. I go, hi. I said, yes. He goes, I'm the unknown soldier who died. I go, okay. I go, not what I do, right? He goes, my name is Robert. I go, Robert, okay. I don't know who I'm going to tell that your name is Robert, right? They go, yeah. Well, you got to tell somebody that my name is Robert. I'm not the unknown soldier. I'm not the no-name soldier. I have a name. I go, okay. Like, I can't tell anybody, right? They're going to say,
Right.
I still
They go, cuckoo.
Yeah,
Look, I can't call anyone. The unnamed soldier, his name is Robert, okay? Because they're going to be like, you're crazy, because you can't prove how you know that.
Well, that's just like, we have a, it's called Camp Boulevard. Right now it's a cemetery, but during the Civil War, it was a Confederate basic training camp. So 400 soldiers went through there. 200 of them died of smallpox and typhoid fever, and they didn't even went to battle. They died at the camp. So we go there, and respectfully investigate there all the time. And so after the Civil War, they turned it into a cemetery. Well, there's a witch's tomb there, and in the 1800s, early 1900s, when they buried witches, they did one of two things. They either put a fence around it, or they put a log, or they put a log chain over it to keep the witch from coming back. Well, at Camp Beauregard, they put the log chain on it. So anyway, so what's odd is the sons and daughters of the Confederacy came back in like 1940 and built a mass grave for all the soldiers that died, and put up the white tombstones and stuff. And what's interesting is this is in the middle of Western Kentucky, and most of the soldiers that served and died there was from Georgia and Alabama. And so they built this mass tomb, but they're not 100% sure that's where the soldiers were buried. That's just where they decided to build the tomb. So whenever we go investigate, so now it's just like a 3-acre. It's a 6-acre cemetery, but during when it was Camp Oregon, it was like 200 acres. So like we'll be investigating, and we'll see apparitions of soldiers coming out of the cornfields and all this stuff. So in October, when I have my Paracon here, we're actually going to go the night before with some of my good friends. Billy's his name. His team is a Whiskey Tango Foxtrot Paranormal, and we're actually going to take a ground penetrating radar and seeing if we can actually locate where the soldiers actually are.
Can I ask you a really interesting question? It's about cemeteries. What do you think about developers getting rid of cemeteries and putting houses on top of it?
Or like relocating the cemetery to somewhere else.
And you know what? The thing is that they don't dig up the bodies, okay? They leave the bodies there and put houses on top of it, or apartment on top of it, or whatever. Like really?
Well, I mean, it's definitely disrespectful. There's a really good chance there's going to be activity at that house, and probably not friendly activity. Because you disrupt the peace. The peace. You know what I'm saying? We run into that a lot around here with Indian burial grounds. Native American burial grounds get disrupted all the time around here. I did a residential not too long ago. They built this apartment complex, a low income apartment complex over Indian burial ground. Like you said, they didn't relocate the bodies. You could even see some of the mounds still, and they even named the complex Indian Hills Apartments. and the Native Americans there were not happy. And I have the gift of I'm 1/8 Cherokee, so I know I have the ability to communicate with the Native American spirits because they communicate different than most spirits. So, but I know how to communicate with them. I know how to help cross them over. The ceremony and stuff is different with Native American. But don't build a house on a cemetery. Like I said, Billy, his project he does now. He restores and rediscovers lost cemeteries. He's like one of the biggest violators against cemeteries, or these people who build these big farm land, and you'll find a abandoned cemetery in the middle of a farmer's field that they just stack everything on top of it. You'll find all the tombstones and stuff stacked in a pile. And to me, in most cases, a cemetery is a peaceful place. So I'm not a big let's go investigate a cemetery person, because to me, you're disturbing your peace area.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm right there with you. I agree with you 100% there. Like, don't disturb the dead. They're there. They just want to be in peace. Don't bother them. Just let them be in peace, okay? There's tons of other places where we can investigate, right?
Right.
And let them sleep in peace and quiet. And don't be a pest.
Right.
Finding cemeteries.
It's all about respect. Respect the living, respect the dead, respect.
Yep.
And I'm big on I'm big on communication. Like I said earlier, when I go into someplace, I'm like, hey, I'm Kent. I'm just here to talk to you. I'm not here to make you leave. I'm not here to be mean to you. I'm just here.
Yep.
I want to talk to you. I want to hear your story. And then if they do talk to me, I'm like, thank you for communicating with me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. And that's been.
Yeah, and leave and be gone. Just be gone with yourself. Let them be there, and you leave, and that's the way that I see it.
They're there for some reason. Something's keeping them there. So unless they tell us they want to cross over, that's where they want to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you can't help all of them, and you're not supposed to help everyone, and you're not supposed to help every spirit that you see or feel or hear. There's a fine line between helping them and disturbing them, bugging them, and making them do something they don't want to do.
Right. Right.
Be respectful.
I mean, Ghostbusters, the movie, is fiction. We don't have proton lasers where we trap the ghosts.
No.
It's research. We're there to find out the truth and to find out, why we have paranormal activity. We're not there to trap ghosts and put them in a containment thing.
No. And that's the thing with Hollywood. Okay, people think we're like Hollywood. Okay, we got the photon lasers. We got this. We got that. Okay, bye.
So I got a question for you ladies. How do you feel about orbs? Everybody wants to say they're just dust or whatever. What do you think about orbs?
Most of them are just dust, especially
Or
like
bugs.
or bugs. Because there's a lot of people where they post photos, and I always want to grab popcorn and read the comments to some of those where people post photos of, oh, this is clearly an orb, and they're in an abandoned place that's clearly very dusty. And then you're like, see, look at all these orbs, and it's like it's dust. You're in an old abandoned place. It's clearly very dirty. I can see all the dirt. I can see all the dust. What makes you think that? You didn't think the dust moved?
I think like you said, a lot of it's dust, and I think if you're an experienced paranormal investigator, you know the truth. You can tell the truth. I mean, obviously there are orbs, but there's also dust and there's also bugs. A friend of mine sent me a picture just the other day. He was investigating an abandoned nursing home, and he actually got orbs, but they were multicolored. So obviously, you got some there if you have a red, blue, and then I actually got an orb at this house that was built in 1780. It was actually given to this guy because he was a Civil War. No, he was a Revolutionary War hero. So they gave him a piece of property and built him a house. He ended up becoming a doctor. Blah blah blah, and so we were in what was the dining room, the parlor, whatever you want to call it, and we took a picture. And we got nothing. And then we took another picture, and you can see something forming. And then the third picture, you got the orb. But, it wasn't just us because you had progressing. And, but, a lot of what people say are orbs or just dust or bugs. I like when people send in footage from their motion camera. They're like, look, this orb set off on a motion camera. I'm like, that's a bug on your lens. That's not an orb.
I used to work for a security company, and the tech support had access to people to watch cameras. And there was times where they had to, because people would call in and swear they caught a ghost or a fairy. And I was talking to those people afterwards, but they also knew I was interested in stuff. So they talked to me afterwards, just when they knew I took the call. They sat there and watched it. They're like, I promised you it was a fly landed on their camera and walked on it.
Mm.
But because they're like, well, insects shouldn't be able to pick up the camera. I'm like, when it lands on it, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Because
ladies,
I have a
my
friend.
my battery's about to die on my
Okay.
computer. Just so
okay.
just so you know, I just got the low battery warning. So
I just want to say my friend lives in Indiana. Her house, and she's also part Cherokee, and her house is on Indian walking burial ground, and her house is just, it's busy. Let's put this, it's busy, and it's not dust, it's just busy. Okay, she's got children, she's got everything in her house, and if you look at it, ain't dust. I can tell you that much. So yeah, there's a difference, and with an orb, you can see exactly the face in the orb if it's an orb, and if it's dust, it's different, and orbs don't move like
yeah, they don't go like this.
yeah.
I actually captured an orb of a dead parrot.
Wow.
We was at this mansion. It's called the Riverview Mansion, and they had a parrot that lived to be 118 years old, and it had died 3 years prior. So it's part of the family, part of the house, and we was upstairs in the bedroom, but we had our DVR going and stuff, and in the DVR we had it set off the DVR, and it looked exactly like a parrot in flight, but you could see through it.
Yep.
Yeah. Indiana has a lot of activity like that with Native American burial grounds, like the famous Monroe House, the Devil House, the Demon House, they call it. That's a theory of why it's so evil. It's because they built it on top of a demon. They built it on top of a Native American burial ground. We're actually going there. I'm actually going there in October, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to get off here because my battery's dying. But
okay.
Well, thank you so much for
thank
joining
you so
us.
much
We
for
appreciate
coming
it.
on the show.
I want you ladies to come on my podcast. You want to do that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do that. No problem.
I'll send you a message. I'm booked through September, but we'll get you on this calendar for sure. Thank you for letting me on the show.
Thank you so much for joining us.
We appreciate it.
We'll see you next time. And everyone
Okay.
watching, thank you so much for watching us. We'll see you next time.
Yeah.
Bye for now.
Thank you.